Eyes narrowed the way a man does when he has nowhere left to run but forward. 3 days in the saddle had worn him down. His duster, once meant to shield him from storms and bullets, now clung to him like a second skin. The fabric was torn from old fights and old mistakes Cole had never stopped paying for. Whisper, his paint mare, breathed hard beneath him. She was the only friend he had left, and even she carried the weight of his past without knowing it. Cole leaned forward and rubbed her neck. "Easy, girl," he said, voice rough from dust and silence. "Town's close." Town was a generous word for what waited ahead. 3 buildings leaning on each other like drunks at closing time. A trough filled with more mud than water, and a sign so sunburned it didn't bother holding on to its name anymore. Cole had seen 100 such places. Small outposts where broken folks gathered when they had nowhere else to go. He fit that description better than anyone alive. The middle building had a faded board that read one promise: rooms, meals, no questions. That was exactly what Cole needed. His boots thudded against the old boardwalk as he stepped inside, pushing the door open against rusted hinges. The place smelled like burnt coffee, sweat, and old secrets. A woman behind the counter, Martha, by the look of her sharp eyes, didn't bother pretending she cared who he was. "Rooms are 2 bits," she said. "Meals cost extra. Whiskey ain't good, but it's wet." Cole dropped coins in her hand without a word. He didn't want kindness. He didn't deserve it. But before he could turn away, something pulled his gaze. She sat in the corner, trying not to be seen, shoulders tucked small, fingers wrapped tight around a cup of weak coffee. Auburn hair tied back in a rush. A dress that had once belonged in a better town, a safer place. Her face carried dust and fear, but her eyes, those green eyes, held something deeper, something familiar. Pain, loss, running. Cole knew the look. He'd worn it longer than he wanted to admit. Their eyes met for a heartbeat before she dropped her gaze like the contact burned. Martha leaned on the counter. "Storm's coming," she said. "Weather or trouble, hard to say. Out here, one usually brings the other." Cole gave a small nod. Trouble had a way of finding him, no matter how far he rode. He stepped back outside to settle Whisper in the lean-to behind the building. That's when he saw them fresh tracks. Riders. 4, by the looks of it, heading in from the east with purpose in their trail marks. Jonas, the one-armed stable hand, took Whisper's reins with a nod. "Trouble coming," he muttered. "Men asking about a young woman, pretty. Traveling alone. Figured I hadn't seen nothing." Cole's jaw tightened. "Not my concern." Jonas shrugged. "Maybe not, but trouble don't care." Cole checked Whisper's hooves, then checked the bullets in his Colt out of old habit. He cursed himself for it. He'd sworn off getting involved in anyone's mess. The last time he tried to fix a problem, he buried his brother instead. But when he stepped back inside the building, he saw something that made his hand drift close to his weapon anyway. The woman wasn't alone anymore. A man stood too close to her, leaning over her table with a smile too wide to trust. "I said I'm not interested," she murmured, voice steady but tight. "That ain't friendly," the man replied, gripping her wrist. Before Cole knew he was speaking, the words came out. "The lady said she's not interested." The room went quiet. The man turned, eyes cold, hand moving toward his pistol. "This ain't your concern, cowboy." "You're right." Cole stepped to the bar. "Just making an observation." Martha crossed her arms. "Tom, you're leaving." Tom wasn't convinced, not until he saw the way Cole stood, the way a man stood when he'd outlived fear. Tom backed out slowly, muttering under his breath as his spurs scraped the floor. Cole sat by the window, not too close to the woman, not too far either. Present, available, but not a threat. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole didn't answer. He wasn't sure he should. Night settled hard outside the windows. Martha lit a lamp and muttered again, "Storm's coming." She wasn't wrong. Cole heard it before anyone else, the jingle of spurs, multiple horses, purposeful riding. He felt the shift in the air, the danger, the change in breath before a fight. Then the door slammed open, and dust blew in around 3 armed men. The man in front scanned the room, eyes sharp as steel. "We're looking for a woman," he said. "Auburn hair. Young. Calls herself June Harper." Cole didn't move, didn't breathe. "Judge back in prosperity wants a word," the man continued. "Money missing. Man dead. Lady needs answering to." The woman in the corner, June Harper, froze, fear tightening every line of her body. Cole could feel the old life pulling at him. The fight he'd worked so hard to leave behind. The leader's hand rested on his gun. Anyone seen her? Cole felt something rise inside him. Something he thought had died the day he stopped being a gunfighter. He heard his own voice before he could stop it. Could be I saw someone like that, he said quietly. Rode out west this afternoon. In a hurry. The leader narrowed his eyes, studying him. And who are you? Nobody worth knowing. A long moment passed. Then the man nodded and motioned to his partners. We ride west. They left as quickly as they came. June didn't breathe until the sound of hooves faded into the darkness. Cole walked upstairs slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. He found the only door with a light beneath it and knocked once. It's Cole, he said softly. They're gone. The door cracked open. One green eye stared out full of fear, full of desperate hope. Why did you lie for me? She whispered. Cole exhaled, leaning against the doorframe. Didn't seem right not to. She opened the door wider. What do we do now? Her voice trembled, carrying the weight of the whole dark world. Cole looked at her, at the storm gathering outside and the one gathering inside him. He loosened the strap across his chest, letting his torn duster fall open. Whatever you say, he answered. The night settled over the desert like a heavy blanket, thick with silence and danger. June stepped back as Cole entered the small room, her hands trembling, even though she fought to keep them steady. The lamplight flickered across her face, tightening the shadows under her eyes. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in weeks, someone who'd been bracing herself for the worst every hour of every day. Cole closed the door behind them, slow and careful. He'd lived long enough to know nothing good happened in a hurry. You all right? He asked. June nodded, though her throat worked like she was forcing down words that didn't want to stay inside. I'm alive, she whispered. For now. For now. Out here, that was the closest anyone got to safety. Cole moved to the small table in the room and rested his hands on its edge. The wood creaked under the weight of his tension. He didn't look at her directly yet. He was giving her space. He understood better than most that corners were for hiding, not confessing. But June surprised him. She stepped forward, voice low but steady. You didn't have to help me downstairs, she said. You didn't even know my name. Didn't need to, Cole replied. Didn't sit right, seeing a man grab a woman like that. June pressed her fingers to her temples, fighting tears or panic or both. They're gonna come back, she said. They always do. Then let's start with the truth, Cole answered. What are they after? June laughed, then, soft, tired, hopeless. The same thing every powerful man wants. Something that wasn't his to begin with. She sank onto the edge of the bed, twisting her hands in her lap. Cole watched her carefully. He'd seen fear before, but hers carried something deeper, heavier. Guilt, maybe. Or grief. My father, she began, voice cracking on the word, stood up to a rancher named Marcus Wellington, a man who wanted our land, our home, everything. They hanged my father for refusing him. Cole's jaw ticked. He'd seen rich men with too much power destroy whole families just because they could. June continued, eyes glassy. Wellington sent his son after me, said the land was his now, and so was I. When he tried to force me back, I fought. He fell, hit his head on the fireplace stone. I took what money Papa had left hidden and ran. Murder, Cole said softly. Self-defense, June corrected, fire flickering in her voice. But justice doesn't work the same for Wellington's people. That judge in prosperity, he's kin. They don't want truth. They want me hanging beside my father. Cole let out a slow breath. It wasn't just trouble. It was deadly trouble. The kind that hunted a woman across deserts and counties until she either broke or died. How long you been running? He asked. 5 months. Her voice thinned. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time. I keep thinking they'll drag me out of some boarding house in the middle of the night. Cole understood too well. Running didn't end when the sun went down. It lived in your bones. It whispered in your ear. It followed you like a ghost. He sank into the chair across from her, the legs scraping against the floor. You said something downstairs, she whispered. Whatever you say. Did you mean it? Quote. Cole hesitated, not because he didn't know the answer, but because he knew it too well. I meant, he said, that trouble's coming for you. And whether I like it or not, I've stepped into it. June looked up sharply, hope and fear mixed behind her eyes. I don't want to drag you into this. Cole gave a humorless smile. Too late for that. A silence settled between them, heavy but not hopeless. What do we do now? June asked, the same words she'd whispered before, but now filled with something rawer, something close to surrender. Cole stood and walked to the window. Outside, thunder rolled across the distant hills. The storm Martha had warned about was sharpening its teeth. The wind carried dust and the faint metallic taste of danger. We run, Cole said, at first light. June's breath caught. And if they find us? Cole loosened the strap across his chest again. His duster fell open enough to show the worn Colt on his hip. He hadn't wanted to use it again. He'd sworn off killing. But tonight, just hearing the tremble in June's voice, he realized something. Some promises ended when somebody needed saving. If they find us, he said, voice steady, I'll deal with it. June stared at him, breath held. You don't even know me. Cole shook his head slowly. I know what fear looks like, and I know what a person looks like when they're at the end of their road. You're not there yet. June rose from the bed, her movements slow but sure. She stepped toward him, stopping close enough that Cole could feel her breath against his chest. You're helping me, she said softly. Why? Cole swallowed hard. Because somebody should have helped my brother, he said, and they didn't. June didn't ask more. She didn't have to. Some wounds were too deep to speak on. The window rattled as wind slammed against it. Lightning cracked somewhere in the distance. June wrapped her arms around herself. Will we make it? She asked. We'll try, Cole said. That's all anyone can promise. For the first time, June reached for him. Her fingers brushed his forearm, light as a whisper. Whatever happens, she murmured. Thank you. Quote, Cole didn't know how to answer that, so he did the one thing he could. He stood guard, between her and the door, between her and the night, between her and the ghosts that wanted her gone. As the storm gathered outside, June lay down on the bed, still watching him like he was the only safe thing she had left. Cole stayed awake, gun nearby, heart wired tight, mind haunted by the road ahead. Morning would come fast, and with it, riders. But for now, June Harper whispered into the dark. What do we do now? Cole slowly removed his worn duster, laying it across the chair as he reached for his holster. Whatever it takes, he said. The sun had not yet crested the horizon when Cole led Whisper out behind the boarding house. The sky was still bruised purple, the air sharp with the smell of wet dust. Last night's storm had passed, but the world felt tense, like the desert itself was holding its breath. June stood beside him, her small bag clutched tight in her hands. She looked exhausted but determined, the kind of tired that lives in a person's bones, not their muscles. You ride behind me? Cole said. We move fast and quiet. The tracks will be messy after the storm. Could buy us an hour, maybe 2. June nodded. Fear shook her breath, but her voice stayed steady. I trust you. Those 3 words weighed more than a saddle and pack combined. They mounted Whisper together, June's arms wrapping around Cole's waist as the mare started forward through the early light. The desert was still, but not silent. Ravens circled in the distance. A lone coyote trotted along a ridge, watching them pass. Even the wind moved differently, sliding over the land like it carried news. Cole kept Whisper at a hard ride until the town behind them became a dot, swallowed by shimmering heat. Cole, June whispered against his back, they'll come, won't they? He didn't lie. Yes. And you'll fight them? Quote, if I have to. June's fingers clutched his torn duster. I don't want you to kill for me. Cole swallowed hard. He'd been trying not to kill for anyone. Not anymore. But the men chasing June Harper weren't interested in law. They wanted power, control, blood. Some men in this world didn't leave room for mercy. Before he could answer her, Whisper's ears shot forward. Cole felt June tense behind him. Riders, he said quietly. He steered Whisper toward a cluster of rocks on a small rise. It wasn't much cover, but enough to watch without being seen. 4 riders cut across the valley floor, dark silhouettes against the rising sun. They moved slow but sure, tracking, searching. The leader rode straight, shoulders square, the badge on his chest catching faint light. They're early, June whispered. They're good, Cole replied. He watched every movement, memorizing the pattern of their search. These were not men who wandered blindly. They followed logic, instinct, and a cruel kind of patience. "We need to get higher ground," Cole said. "Lose the valley, use the cliffs." June nodded, but her voice shook. "You think they'll reach the end first? Martha, Jonas, what if?" Cole shook his head. "They won't hurt anyone unless someone lies, and no one up there will lie." They set off along a narrow path, climbing toward a line of broken cliffs. Whisper grunted with the effort, but she kept steady footing. By the time they reached the upper ridge, the sun was climbing fast. June suddenly pointed. "Cole, look!" Below them, the riders had stopped. One dismounted and knelt, brushing dust. Even from this distance, Cole knew what he was doing. "Tracking," Cole muttered. "Storm or not, he knows what to look for." June touched his arm gently. "What do we do now?" He didn't answer right away, because the truth was simple and cruel and heavy. "We fight," Cole said finally. "We're out of time." But something in June's eyes told him she already knew. They rode until the ridge opened into a narrow pass, a place where the rocks rose high on both sides, a place where one man could hold off 5, maybe 6. "Here," Cole said. "We make our stand here." June slid down from the horse, her boots touching dirt with a soft tremble. "Cole, will you survive this?" Quote. Cole stepped close, one hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "I'll try." June shook her head. "That's not enough." Her voice cracked, raw and honest. "Don't you understand? I don't want to live if it means losing you after everything you've done for me." Cole's breath caught. Not because of her fear, but because he'd felt the same for her. He took her face gently in both hands. "June Harper, you are not losing me. Not today. Not like this." June leaned her forehead against his chest, gripping his shirt like she feared the wind might tear him from her. The sound of hooves echoed down the pass. Cole turned. They were coming. He moved June behind one of the rock pillars. "No matter what happens," he said, "you stay down. You wait for my voice." "Only my voice." June nodded, but grabbed his hand before he could pull away. "If they kill you," she whispered, "I'll follow you." Cole's heart slammed hard. "No," he said firmly. "You live, even if I don't. You fight to live, June. Promise me." Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded. "I promise." The riders appeared at the mouth of the pass. Cole stepped forward, gun loose in his hand. The leader dismounted slowly, like a man who enjoyed taking his time. "Well," he called, voice echoing off the stone, "looks like we found ourselves a liar." Cole said nothing. "You gave us a wrong trail, cowboy," the man continued. "Now, that ain't neighborly. That woman stole money, and she killed a man. Judge wants her back. Dead or alive don't matter much." Cole's jaw tightened. "She didn't kill in cold blood. Money was hers by right." The man smiled. "Doesn't matter. Law is what the judge says it is." Cole raised his Colt. "Then this is where your law ends." A long silence stretched. Then the leader let out a slow, disappointed breath. "Shame. You look like a smart man. Smart men should know better than to die for a woman who's already marked." That was the last word before the shooting started. Gunfire exploded like thunder trapped between the canyon walls. Cole moved with precision, every shot measured. Dust kicked up around him, bullets slicing the air close enough to taste. He hit the first man clean. The second ducked behind a rock. The leader stayed mounted, firing low, driving Cole backward. June pressed a hand to her mouth behind the pillar, trembling as she heard every shot, every ricochet. Cole dropped to one knee, rolled, fired again. A cry split the air. Another rider down. 2 left. The leader advanced, spitting rage. "You don't get it, cowboy," he shouted. "She's worth money. Ain't no love in the world worth what she's stolen." Cole gritted his teeth. "I ain't doing this for love." He fired, striking the man's shoulder and spinning him from his horse. The last rider panicked, firing wildly. Cole moved fast, closing the distance, grabbing the man's arm and slamming him down. Silence fell sudden and sharp. Cole stood panting, smoke curling from his gun. But the leader wasn't done. He lifted his weapon, aiming straight at Cole's back. June saw it. She didn't think. She didn't breathe. She screamed. "Cole!" He spun just in time. Their shots cracked together. The leader slumped forward. And Cole stumbled back, hand going to his side where blood trickled warm beneath his fingers. June ran from her hiding place. "No," she whispered. "Please, no." Quote, Cole sank to his knees, vision blurring as she caught him in her arms. He managed a weak smile. "You promised you'd live," he murmured. June shook her head through tears. "Not without you." Cole cupped her cheek, thumb brushing away dust and fear. "June, what do we do now?" Her breath hitched. She leaned close, pressing her forehead to his. "Whatever keeps you alive." He grinned faintly. "That's my line." She held him tight as the sun rose over the dead men and the broken pass. Whisper nudged Cole's shoulder softly, as if urging him to stay in this world a little longer. June kissed his brow. "You're not dying here," she whispered fiercely. "I won't let you." Cole's fingers tightened weakly in her sleeve. For the first time in years, he didn't fight hope. "Then lead the way, June Harper," he breathed. "I'll follow." And together they rose, bloodied, bruised, but alive.